With that said, I'd like to turn it over to our partner at ID Agent, Kim, to talk more about data policies and how they secure your business.
Great. Thanks so much, Liz. I'm really excited to be here again, very excited to have the opportunity to be back and talking about something that I think is pretty timely and super necessary right now. And that's the importance of every organization having a thorough and updated data security policy. We all know and think of a new year as a great time to reflect on the previous year and to look ahead at the coming year to establish some goals and anticipate changes. So what better time to think about your organization and the changes and progress made over the past year while looking ahead at what's to come this year, particularly as it relates to your technology and the policies you have in place to safeguard your organization and data from potential threats. So that's where a data security policy comes in. We've seen a huge and drastic upswing in cybercrime threatening both public and private sectors. So it's become even more important for organizations to have a solid data security policy in place so that we know exactly what we need to do to prevent security problems, as well as next steps and action items if we're ever faced with something like a data breach. A data security policy is a clear and thorough plan that's designed to guide employee behavior as it relates to the security of company information and IT systems. It's a framework that defines the who and the what and the why of everything we're doing to prevent unauthorized access of our data. To put it simply, it ensures that everyone is on the same page with respect to security processes and procedures. I think we all know, or I hope we know, it takes multiple layers of security to keep an organization safe. A data security policy is the framework and the blueprint for all of those layers, making it, I think, a really critical cornerstone of an organization's overall security posture. Now, before we go any further, I think it's important to pause just for a moment and talk about the difference between data security and data privacy. Although these terms are often used interchangeably, they're actually more complementary than synonymous. And here's what I mean by that. So data security is the process of protecting information from unauthorized access, data corruption, and data loss. A data security process includes techniques and data management practices and technologies that protect data from both internal and external threats. So a comprehensive data security strategy really helps prevent data breaches, ensures business continuity, and keeps the company data safe from cyber threats. On the other hand, data privacy deals with the regulations and practices to ensure data is handled responsibly. It includes how information is collected and processed and stored and disseminated. In its simplest form, data privacy is the appropriate use of data, right? That is using the data according to the agreed upon purposes. So I mentioned that data security and data privacy are complementary. A well-designed and well-executed data security policy ensures both data security and data privacy. That is, companies enact a data security policy to ensure data privacy. That is one of the most important assets of a company. A data security policy then is kind of the means to the desired end, which is data privacy or the appropriate use of data. So we've touched on how a documented data security policy is a best practice for every organization, but it also helps with today's increasingly stringent data privacy laws. Any organization that collects and stores data or that does business around the globe should comply with privacy regulations that protect consumer and personal privacy. Compliance regulations give individuals the right to know what information is collected, why it's collected, and how it's processed. As data privacy regulations continue to expand and become more complex, privacy requirements are also changing, and non-compliance can be extremely costly. So a data security policy not only outlines security measures, but it also demonstrates and documents an organization's commitment to meeting these compliance requirements. Not having a policy in place or failure to comply with privacy laws can lead to pretty serious consequences. And Speaking of consequences, compliance regulations are probably enough reason to put together a data security policy, but there are some other things to consider too. The lack of a data security program really opens the door to a wide variety of security risks. Things like data theft, data tampering, maybe unauthorized access to sensitive information. The impact of just a single data breach can be devastating and result in huge financial losses. But there are some other potential consequences to consider as well, too. A security breach can tarnish a brand's image, potentially driving away potential customers. As the graphic here points out, an overwhelming majority of consumers will not do business with a brand that they don't trust. A data breach can also cause significant disruption to business operations. I think, as we all know, downtime equals decreased productivity, revenue loss, and unhappy customers. None of that is a good thing. We touched on compliance requirements, but organizations that fall victim to data breaches face some serious legal consequences too, things like fines or legal action, maybe compensation to customers. And then finally, a data breach certainly puts your company and customer information at risk, but it also comes with the potential risk of losing intellectual property, things like patents or blueprints or other certifications. The hard truth is that any one of us, any of our organizations can become a victim of a data breach. But having a well-documented data security policy is an important step to protect sensitive data and minimize threats and those consequences that come along with them. We've talked about what a data security policy is and why it's important to have one. Let's talk about what exactly it should look like, right? Here are some key elements that the policy should include. We've already spent some time talking about the importance of data privacy, so probably no surprise that it tops the list here. As businesses gather massive amounts of customer information, it's extremely important to ensure confidential data records are safeguarded from prying eyes and opportunistic scammers, right? Having a data privacy policy in place will not only help you stay compliant with those regulations that we talked about, but will also help prevent that malicious misuse of client-sensitive data. Next, according to a 2020 data breach investigation report, over 80% of data breaches due to hacking are password related. I don't think I can overemphasize the importance of implementing a strong password management policy for all of your users who have access to your company's resources. The policy should include the importance of periodic updates of passwords, how to manage and secure those passwords, as well as the implications of not following password policies and procedures. So let's talk about internet and email usage for a moment. Two things that certainly dominate my workday, and I suspect I'm probably not alone in that. We rely heavily on the internet to complete our day-to-day job responsibilities, but this makes us really vulnerable to several security risks. An internet usage policy provides that guidance on how to securely and safely access the internet. And employees need to know that browsing restricted sites and downloading unnecessary files and applications are prohibited. Similarly, email can be another hotbed of risks. As an example, a recent report shows that 94% of malware was delivered through email. That is astounding. So a carefully outlined email policy will protect employees and organizations from email-based threats. Having a company-owned device policy will help manage and monitor and secure both the device and the information on it from unauthorized access and data theft. But we also can't forget about those personal devices too. Personal devices are often used for business purposes, but they're difficult to monitor and control, and those devices can be easily exploited. An information security policy can direct employees to implement best practices even on those personal devices, things like using up-to-date software, connecting to the network through secure VPN, and immediately reporting if the device is lost or stolen. And all of those practices, of course, help minimize the risks of data breaches. Every software user should comply with the end user license agreement. Breaching that agreement could result in things like lawsuits and fines. A software user agreement policy ensures employees are using only those software applications that are legal and company approved. A security incident can occur when you least expect it, unfortunately. So it's important to have appropriate response measures in place so that you're prepared and ready for the unthinkable. Data breaches should be immediately reported to hopefully minimize negative impact and to prevent further attack. A data breach policy outlines the actions that need to be taken to manage data breaches, and it ensures that appropriate procedures are followed when reporting those incidents. And finally, something that I've certainly talked about before, we have to empower employees through security awareness training. Think about this for a second. 90% of security breaches are inadvertent, unintentional, and caused by human error. So since the number one cause of data breach is human error, the most effective way to prevent a cybersecurity disaster is by implementing ongoing security awareness training for all employees. That security awareness training can equip team members with that knowledge and the skills to stay cyber secure as they work both in the office and at home. Research shows that a good and consistent security awareness training program decreases risks and susceptibilities to cyber attacks. I think phishing attacks in particular are becoming increasingly sophisticated and targeted and effective. So it's essential that our employees are able to spot a phishing scam. The best way to help them do that is through practice, such as through phishing simulations. Those are those mock attacks that train employees to be vigilant and to be able to successfully identify phishing scams. It's a great way to address any gaps and then deliver appropriate security training, which increases awareness by covering the most critical cybersecurity topics. We often hear that companies put off security awareness and phishing resistance training because it seems daunting, right? They're just not sure where to start. Fortunately, I know Verity IT can help. They've got a comprehensive program that includes a really robust library of training courses and phishing simulations, really everything you need to prepare employees to detect and report and avoid cybercrime. The team can help you get those right materials in place as well as the right cadence, and they'll help measure progress and retention while also identifying any gaps and weaknesses. All of this, of course, to help build that human firewall that is such a critical layer to your company's overall security. So I wanted to round out our conversation today with some steps that I hope can help you build out your own data security policy for your own organization. So, first, ask some critical questions. There are a lot of these, but you'll want to consider things like, what regulations do we need to comply with? Who needs access to our organization's data? How will we safeguard that data? Certainly, what are our password policies? How will the internet usage be governed? How will we monitor those company-owned mobile devices and computers? Who's even going to manage all this, right? Who's managing the security policies? These are just some of the questions to get you started and that you'll want to consider. And then you want to use the answers that you've come up with to develop your policies and procedures, which you will then share across the organization, right? You should consistently and constantly communicate guidelines and best practices. And all employees, top to bottom, need to be aware of those policies and understand their roles and their responsibilities. Your data security policy is not intended to be a static and unchanging document. Rather, it should undergo, regular review and revision. Cybersecurity is this living thing, right? It needs regular maintenance and care and attention. And I think the more attentive we are to those security plans, the better they're going to work for us. And then finally, seek help. Rely on experts who are knowledgeable about the current cyber threat landscape. One size does not fit all as it pertains to data security policies. And being careless with information security policies can have some pretty negative consequences, as we've discussed. So We understand this can be hard and overwhelming and draining, but Verity IT certainly is here to help get you going in the right direction and provide guidance on policies and procedures that make the most sense for your particular organization. So I hope this overview of a data security policy and how it can help your organization was helpful. And I'm really hoping that it can help make your 2021 even more secure. So with that, I want to make sure I turn it back over to Liz to see if we've got any questions perhaps to cover.
Thank you so much, Kim. And yes, we do actually. We've had a few come in our Q&A box. We selected a few that we think would benefit everybody. The first one was, how often should I update my data security policy? Once your policy is instituted and implemented, it should be reviewed at least once a year to bring it current. Your review should also be triggered if any significant upgrades are made to your company's infrastructure. So there's no saying that you can't review it more than once a year. Once a year is just the recommended day. And then the second question we got is a security awareness training program necessary when constructing a data security policy? Security awareness training might be a new concept to many of you, but it actually has been around for quite a while. It's gained a lot of popularity because of the recent upswing in cyber crime, but because reporting cyber incidents and conducting an incident response plan are huge in a data security policy, security awareness training better equips your employees with the knowledge they need to stay safer online and report any oddities that they may come across. Let's see. I think that's all the time we have for today, but we will definitely, if we didn't answer your question, we will definitely email you with an answer within the next few days. We want to thank everybody for attending, and we'd like to offer everyone a free month of security awareness training if you sign up for our 12-month program. So we'll be following up with you guys in the next few days if you're interested. If you have any other questions about data security policies or protecting your business, please feel free to contact us before the few days are up. But thank you again so much for everyone for joining, and we hope to see you at our next webinar.